What's good, Ninja? OJ over here from Player Essence, and welcome to another video. Today we have an awesome discussion because we're going to be talking about how Warframe has been officially announced for the Nintendo Switch, and in my opinion it could be better than Wolfenstein and Doom in terms of the ports that came to Nintendo Switch. But we'll get into that. Let's talk about Warframe first, how this came about, and a little bit more about the game so you can kind of understand what it's all about, why I'm excited about it. Then of course we'll have all the other discussions in terms of Wolfenstein and Doom and what Panic Button has been doing, because this is just kind of like out of nowhere. People were just kind of blasted by this announcement, and I think that it kind of sets a pretty cool precedent going forward in the future. So Warframe is officially announced for the Nintendo Switch. Developer Digital Extremes announced. A release date was not announced, and Panic Button, the Nintendo Switch port gods, are handling the port. Now, the free-to-play online cooperative third-person action game first launched for the PC back in March 2013, followed by PS4 in November 2013, and the Xbox One in September 2014. Now, here's an overview of the game via the Steam page. They were called Tenno, warriors of blade and gun, masters of the Warframe armor. Those that survived the old war were left drifting among the ruins. Now they are needed once more. The Grineer, with the vast armies, are spreading throughout the solar system. A call echoes across the stars, summoning Tenno to an ancient place. They summon you. Allow the Lotus to guide you. She has rescued you from your cryostasis chamber and giving you a chance to survive. The Grineer will find you. You must be prepared. The Lotus will teach you the ways of the Warframes and the secrets to unlocking their powers. Come, Tenno, you must join the war. So, shoutouts to Panic Button, shoutouts to Digital Extremes for bringing this game over to the Nintendo Switch. And it was funny because there was an interview with, I think, the developers of this game, and they talked about, or somebody asked them like, hey, is there a chance that Warframe comes to Nintendo Switch? And everyone was thinking, well, there's no shot. Look at the game, it was developed for PC, graphics this, graphics that, Switch wouldn't be able to handle it, and it's just been years since the game's launched, so nobody really thought that this game had a shot to come out. But the developers said, oh, well, yeah, I mean, we're not necessarily opposed to it, but little did we know that they were actually working on the game at the time that they had that interview. So it's awesome to see this game come over, and let me give you guys a number of reasons why I'm excited. Then I'll talk about why this could be better than what Panic Button has done on the Switch beforehand. So here's the reason why I'm excited. One, it's ninjas in space, okay? So if you guys already know on the channel, obviously I like ninjas. Ninjas are really cool, they're stealthy, they've got swords. These ninjas got guns too. So you got ninjas with guns and you got ninjas with swords. So that's a good combination. I really love the theme and the premise of the game. I think that that is just a fun and cool way to go about making a game with armored ninjas with guns and swords. That's awesome. And I love the fact that it's third person. Okay, look guys, I know a lot of people love here in the West, they love first-person games, first-person this, first-person that. Everything's first-person at this point. Of course, there's other games that aren't that people really like, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of first-person shooters out there. There's a lot of first-person games. To finally get something from Panic Button when it comes to like an action-adventure game. I know they did Rocket League. That's third-person. Obviously, you're in the car, but that's a different style of game. I'm talking about like a shooting game or like an action-adventure game. To finally get one that's third-person that you can play that way is awesome to see, because I like third-person shooters more than I like first-person shooters. I always like playing games more in third person than I do in first person if they give me the option, and it does seem like Warframe is more of the third-person shooter. Now, I don't know if there's a first-person shooter mode. Everything that I've watched when it comes to Warframe has all been in third person, although there might be, might not be, I'm not sure. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just happy that the game is a third-person shooter and it has those action elements in there with the sword and everything. And I feel that that is really awesome. It gives you more vision, in my opinion, and I don't get as, like, let's say, motion sickness as much for some reason with Doom and Wolfenstein. I mean, I like them and they're cool and all, but just the first person sometimes will give me a little bit of sickness when I do play those games. So it's cool to see Warframe, a game like this, a really graphically intense shooter and action game, come over that's not first person. So I'm happy about that. Now here's another reason why I'm excited about this. It's a free to play game. Obviously, free-to-play games have a hit and miss, right? Because there's going to be microtransactions and lots of them, and Warframe is no exception. However, from what I've learned about how Warframe handles things, because I never really played Warframe beforehand. I've watched a ton of Warframe. I'd actually watched a lot of content creators on Twitch play Warframe because I always thought the premise was cool of ninjas in space with swords and guns. So I watched hours and hours and hours of guys like Professor Broman and other dudes play Warframe on their PCs. So I always thought the game was cool, and I was watching it all throughout this year. I watched it last year and thought the game was fun. I just never really picked up the game in terms of myself playing it, but I watched other people play it. So the game does have microtransactions in there, but it's still going to be a free-to-play game to where you can get hours of enjoyment without paying any money at all. Now, we've seen these free-to-play games come in and kind of dominate on the Nintendo Switch, right? And even if a game that's not quite yet free to play but will be free to play, a game like Paladins, people are having a ton of fun with that game and downloading that as well. So I think that there is a market for these style of games on the Nintendo Switch. I think that Nintendo is courting these developers to make this style, and once again, it made the Destiny developers look stupid when they said, oh well, we're not bringing Destiny 2 over because it's an always online game and Switch can't do that or it can't handle that. Well, no, you're just wrong. That's not the case. You didn't trick me back then, Bungie. You don't trick us now at this point. So it's cool to see Warframe, a free-to-play game that's going to give you hours and hours of content. As long as you have the Nintendo Switch and you have an internet connection, you can still play that game. And from what I've gathered, you're definitely going to get a lot of content in there, but it can get a bit grindy when it comes to without having to pay for the next tier or do something like that. But if you really like the game, then you can consider buying something in the game or doing something like that. But it's not like you have to do that. You can get a lot of hours and have a lot of fun just by playing through the game, similar to, like, let's say, for example, Fortnite. I mean, it'd be great if you bought something from Fortnite. You can buy stuff in the game, but do you have to get a lot of hours of enjoyment out of there? Nope. And you can play with your friends for free, no problem there. So I actually do like the aspect of games that are free to play coming over to the Nintendo Switch. And if you want to buy something or you want to unlock a tier quicker or whatever the case is, then cool, you can do so. Now, another thing that I also learned about Warframe is that the community is extremely nice, apparently, based on when I was on the Spawncast the other night. Evan did say that the community is very nice and they're willing to help people out. So maybe we see a lot of the community who are experienced with the game on other systems come over to Nintendo Switch and give people a hand when it comes to learning the game, because I'm definitely going to be playing it now at this point, now that it's coming. I've always been interested in it, and the funny thing is that I didn't even know it was on the PS4 or the Xbox One to play for free, or I probably would have already played it, but the game is so old at this point, I just didn't think about it. I just watched people play it on PC, so maybe I would have tried it out beforehand, but I didn't even know it was, just because the reports and me covering everything just basically didn't really come across Warframe much. People don't mention it much in the media, even though it does have a big community. They do have a lot of money and revenue coming in through people supporting the game. So it's cool that it's finally brought back into the limelight. But if you look at it from that perspective, I think that the Nintendo Switch port makes perfect sense, because people haven't really been talking about Warframe a lot. The only people that have been discussing it have been the hardcore community. Okay, well, how do you get people interested in Warframe again? How do you get more people talking about your game? How about you release it on one of the most talked about platforms online with the Nintendo Switch? So I think it was the perfect timing, and it just made sense to bring the game over to the Switch. So there's a multitude of reasons why I think this is a great idea and why I'm excited for Warframe on the Switch. Now let's go ahead and get into the second part here, where I talk about why I think this could be better than Doom and also Wolfenstein. So both with Wolfenstein, we'll start off with that first because that's the most fresh in my mind. Wolfenstein, obviously there's no online multiplayer in the game at all, and it is a purely single player narrative driven experience. My issues with Wolfenstein, not that it's a bad game, because Wolfenstein 2, we're talking about Wolfenstein 2, it's not a bad game by any means. I think that it's okay, like it's great, the graphics are good, the gameplay is solid in terms of like the controls and everything. My problem is that it doesn't deviate too much from what we've already done years and years and years before in games. It doesn't feel like it's done anything new or innovative. There isn't any dynamic systems when it comes to the gameplay, in my opinion. You just shoot, 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 and there isn't just enough to get me excited about continuing on with the game. So I think that Warframe, if you look at what it does, Third person, you have swords, you have guns, you have the armor that you can use, you have all the different upgrades, you have co-op experience, you have PvP experiences. So there's a lot of dynamicness to what you can do, the type of armor and suits you can get. You can swap between a bunch of different ones, different upgrades, different abilities. It goes far beyond what Wolfenstein even has in scope. So not to knock Wolfenstein for what it does, but it's more of a narrative driven, okay, I'm playing this game to see more of the story and shock value. Oh, we're gonna say this is gonna be a shocking point, you know, we're gonna make you feel a certain way more so than, oh, there's a lot of depth within the gameplay and the mechanics in terms of what you can do. So that's why I think Warframe is going to be above Wolfenstein 2 in that way. Now Doom is a little bit different, because Doom does a lot of stuff that maybe you'd see in a Warframe game. Like, you have upgrades in there, you have different abilities, you do have online multiplayer as well, but there's no co-op. And anybody who knows me, I love more of the co-op experiences, player versus event type of things. Those are more of my style, more so than just like team deathmatch. That's what you have in Warframe. You have a co-op experience in addition to a player versus player experience. Now, from what I understand, the player versus player experience isn't necessarily the best in Warframe, but the co-op experience and the raids and what you can do is awesome. And this is the first time that we're getting a game on the Nintendo Switch that has like a raids type of co-op experience, Division or Destiny, that style of thing. We haven't really seen anything like that, because every single game that we've gotten so far is more of like the traditional type of multiplayer, or even like a battle royale like Fortnite. So to see this style of game come over that has everything, it has the experiences that we've played before, but then it also has something new coming over to Nintendo Switch, but with the theme that it has, is just awesome to see. So I think this could be potentially better in terms of what Doom does. Now, Doom does have the single player experience that's really fun to play through and everything, and I did like that, but once again, the first person view for me isn't necessarily the best, and I just like the theme more in terms of what they do with Warframe. Now, Warframe doesn't have like a traditional single player experience, so I think that takes some points off of it from what you get in like a Doom, for example. So I can understand why some people might ultimately end up liking Doom more, or whatever the case is, but for me, I think the theme of it with ninjas in space and all the different custom abilities that you can have and different Warframes and different stuff that you can do with it in terms of just this vast expansion with the combat and how you get upgrades and everything, this obviously far surpasses what Doom has in the game. And of course, swords. You have a sword in the game, so I cannot ignore all of that, but we'll have to wait and see. Obviously the game isn't out yet on the Nintendo Switch, but from what I've seen so far, from what I have watched on Twitch, and from what people have explained to me, I think that Warframe could definitely be better than what Panic Button has done. Also, you have to look at it, kind of my final point is that this is their third big action adventure game, or third big experience, not counting Rocket League, because that's a different style of game. This is their fourth one on the Nintendo Switch, but this is their third one when it comes to that big action adventure style of game, and they've probably gathered all the experience from making Doom, from making Wolf, and probably customized and optimized this game to the best of their ability when it comes to it. So this could be the best looking and best performing port that they've done so far. So we'll have to wait and see overall once the game drops and we kind of see all the different nooks and crannies that it has to offer. But once again, I'm very excited about Warframe, and I think that this is going to be a hit on the Nintendo Switch because of the theme. Obviously, I think it's going to be a hit here in the village, ninjas in space. We got ninjas here, so awesome stuff to see. So what do you guys think about Warframe coming over to Nintendo Switch? Free-to-play game. We don't have a release date or anything yet, but I'm guessing that's going to be dropping within the next few months. That's the reason why they announced it, free-to-play game. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but give me your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, Ninja, that wraps it up for this video here. Go ahead and check out the links in the description below. We got Facebook and Twitter. Go ahead and give us a like and a follow on our social media. It really helps us spread the content of Player Essence across the internet in addition to YouTube. Also, make sure you check out our Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube live gaming pages and consider supporting Player Essence. When you do so, it gets you access to all sorts of cool benefits, perks, rewards, and emotes via YouTube sponsorship. So check out the link in the description below and consider supporting Player Essence right here on YouTube. Hit that like button if you did like this video. Lets me know you guys want more content like this going forward in the future. And subscribe to Player Essence for latest RPG, Japanese, and Nintendo gaming news. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you, Ninja, for the next video. Peace.